music show, Taylor and Eddie Sutton. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you, Sean?
I'm glad you can be back. I know this is, I think it's officially our second on air, but we've talked a few times off air. One failed time when I first started, and then we've of course been friendly and talked over the years. Um, so it's always a pleasure to have you on. But I think it's important to have you on today. To I want to really stress people with GoFundMe and see what's going on with your health too, because I think it's an important thing we talk about. You know.
Sure. I appreciate that. It's been nice watching how your thing has been growing, like we talked. I was on very early when you had like Glenn Matlock and other artists that I respected and stuff. And then to see this and come back again on a full circle is nice.
Thank you, and I think I've stayed true to who I am. Actually, Glenn Malick was just on last month again. He was on for
How about that?
he had a new album out. But yeah, any of the same people have come on from the beginning. I'm the same. It's really the same size, same artist, same goal. Just circle of life. Keep everybody promote the artists, support the artists. You know. But with you've obviously
Well, that's what's up.
You've had some health struggles, obviously, and you have some newer health struggles, and I think that's the first thing I want to talk about, so people are aware. I'm going to put the link for your GoFundMe. You're looking at some new surgery.
Okay.
You want to talk about that first?
Yeah. Well, the new surgery has a lot to do with the battles that I went through last year. I wound up in the hospital, not last Christmas, the Christmas before, with sepsis. But ironically, I was in my studio in Hoboken the night of a arson explosion. And I was in the building with another artist who was renting a room. We were in there for like 18 hours, not realizing that this explosion killed two women that were living there illegally on the other side, because it was a big block warehouse.
Oh, that was the same building? That was the building?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And I was in there with this guy. We were afraid to come out because we didn't know they evacuated. We thought we were going to get arrested and everything. The studio didn't get damaged and we survived, but the building's condemned. Luckily, my guy Laz Pina, the bass player Phil Nino, he rebuilt the studio, and I just did a session for my 58th birthday the other day. So, okay, I go through all that. In March of last year, I, for some reason, lost my appetite, and I didn't really eat, and I lost an insane amount of weight and caught pneumonia. I survived that, but as I regained the weight and a little bit more, something started to happen in my arms. And when I reach or try to lift something over my head, I get this sharp pain in both. And the MRIs are showing tears. So I'm looking at surgery for that. The cancer isn't going away. I mean, I have squamous carcinoma. I'm at stage 4. It's not getting worse, but it's not getting better. Chemo is now looking at surgery to attach the muscles on both my upper arms and get back to a little bit of normalcy there. It's a bitch. Getting old sucks.
Well, you've got a few things on top of that. I mean, cancer is a hard thing, and I think obviously you're right. It's you're so far into it, but I mean, it's about a quality of life and enjoying as much as you can at the best quality you can is probably the main goal at this point. And your arms,
and that's what's up.
Is not good. So the tear though, is that something like an athlete would have? But obviously, because your body is having problems with the cancer, it's reacting to it like it's sort of similar.
Like I guess, but again, like I said, I lost so much weight, and I was emaciated I couldn't uh, really get around at first when I got out of the hospital, and I needed a cane because my legs were so weak and everything. I had to go on this weight gain regimen and really pile on the calories to regain the weight. So I'm thinking as the muscle mass regrew and got back to where it was supposed to be, somehow it lost attachment to the bones, and that's what the
Yeah.
doctors are saying. There's wear and tear. So I'm looking at a specialist and going through some sort of plan to go through these surgeries. But I mean, life is still wonderful. I don't feel bad for me, even though I need the support. You know, uh, since I've been on here, I got a whole new bunch of guys performing with me. Uh, their band is called Damn Your Eyes. You can find them on YouTube. They have official videos and music releases. Great bunch of guys. We rehearse right down here in the basement where I'm sitting and speaking to you now.
Yeah.
And life is good. I keep performing. I can't bounce around like I used to, but my vocals are as strong as ever. And that's the most important thing, like having these guys around me, contributing to the
Power.
performance still makes it strong. And that's the bottom line. You know what I mean? Because I never said this is Leeway. I always called this a tribute to the band. You just get the original singer with his friends playing
Right.
the songs. You know what I mean?
It's
So
hard. I mean, and with respect to the other guys, because the Leeway, the original band of Leeway, the ingredients made the perfect formula. You guys were
sure,
perfect together. But that being said, one of the things that an artist can get away with if you are the vocalist of any type of genre, you can usually get away with finding the closest to the original sound without a purist getting on my case. Hear me out, because it sounds more like them. Because you can reproduce a lot of guitar sounds, you can reproduce a certain drum sound. Maybe not. Now you can't reproduce the feel of a guitar player or the feel of the drums or the jazz, the swing, but you can get closer. To some people in the back of the room would be like, they wouldn't know the difference. They would think the band just changed. So that's a nice thing about you performing with really good musicians, is it probably is as close as anyone's going to get to hearing the original version together ever, which is a
yeah,
treat for fans.
we work hard at it. You know what I mean? So okay, yeah, it can't be maybe the 100% fluidity that we originally had when we rehearsed our asses off and wrote the material and arranged it. But like again, thankfully, you know, I can replicate the band sound behind
Yeah,
me, and I can do a little bit better than I originally did with a lot of these vocals because I've improved over the decades.
yeah,
So, the challenge is there. It's still a lot of fun. Without the audience, I and this band's music would be nothing, you know, and I cherish that. This is like I always say it, this is the one thing I got right out of life. And I've been able to touch people and see the world and be able to have this piece of history endure after I'm gone. You know
right,
what I mean? Because I don't have kids. I don't have family. I mean, I have my family, of course, and my
right.
nieces and my goddaughter, but I don't have my own children. So this is my legacy.
As I say,
And
this is
and
a
it's
it's gotta
just
be
very
a lot. Sorry, I mean to step on you. That's gotta be like a thought. You've got to be thinking like this point, like what are you, like your mortality of what are you leaving behind? What have you done? Who are you? How do you
exactly.
feel? I mean, I'm not trying to imagine what kind of thoughts you would have. I mean, just me as I get older with kids, I'm thinking, what am I doing? How am I this? What if I have relatives that have had heart attacks at this age? I've had, my parents are dead. So like, you start thinking about like, if I go, what, you know what I mean? You start thinking like that, and you're in a boat where it's it's much more of a fixed vision of what's happening right now, quicker and more guaranteed than someone else. So, you know, but and I want to say something that's really important. You're saying it though. It's you've given so much to everybody also that you can enjoy it because you go on like on YouTube or you go on these things and you read the comments of what you've given to people. There's not a bad word out there about you. There's no one just people love to say bad things on the internet. You know.
No, I know I've got a few haters, but
do you? I really don't come
people
across them. I'll be
know who
honest with you.
they are.
Oh. I'm talking about like if you go on YouTube and you look at fans and you look at the comments and there's a lot of trolling out there and you look at the comments, people are just loving you, because you're honest. You're an everyday person. You're part of the crew. You're part of the audience. You know what I mean? You are your own audience. You know what I mean? And I think it's a
I've always
relatability.
found a way to get to know everybody and to be friendly. I learned that from the Bad Brains. Like the first show I ever went to, Gary Miller, Dr. No, rolls up in a van and just jumps out and starts talking with everybody. That and going on tour with them and seeing how they interacted with the audience, just said a lot about what this thing is and how it's community more than it is unity.
Yeah.
Compare that to another memory that I have of running into Rod Stewart as a messenger in Manhattan and trying to walk up to him, say hello, and try to get an autograph because in 1980, rock stars were prestigious and on a higher level. But, being told, like, get away from me, was such a turnoff. This thing, you can actually touch people you look up to and admire, and like for this music, Bad Brains were the fucking Beatles. It's as simple as that. They did so much for the sound of American hardcore.
Yeah.
And not just light a fire and inspire so many bands out of New York, not just DC. It is what it is. And I'm very fortunate. Yes, I get a lot of love and respect. And it's important for me to give that right back because, again, I am nothing without an audience. I am nothing without these people appreciating what I do and allowing me the opportunity to do my thing.
But there's two sides to you as the cereal, the frosted and the wheat side. There's two sides to you. There's a person side of you, and then there's a music part of you. And together it makes the perfect performer because you're very much into the audience, which is the hardcore punk scene has always been very much a people group. You know what I mean? And I think the rest of the world is caught up just, as we talk about like with podcasts and stuff nowadays, like I've talked to hundreds of musicians now that have been huge and different types of everyone. Everyone's fantastic now. Probably would have been the same in the 80s for some, the accessibility, the views of everything. So I think it's that's always been such a great thing about the punk feel. I think that's an influence that's carried over. But back to you with your music and your songwriting. You've always been a good songwriter and a good lyricist, and your vocal delivery is just so good, and your inflection. Like even the influences of like "Make Me an Offer" or just like different songs, the new song "Pusher." Like you always have something, and it's just not just a straight ahead punk song. There's always something in it. You can feel some of your influences in your songwriting without you copying them. That's what I hear.
Yeah, a lot of people will say Ozzy, but like David Lee Roth was a huge influence on me, and I guess it's wanting to be like that blue-eyed soul type of singer because I grew up with a lot of R&B. And
I hear groove. I hear the groove. I hear groove. And I hear 70s groove in your music. That's what I hear.
Yeah, and I learned to adapt and improve as I kept going, and I'm just very fortunate that I do stand out in this genre with my vocals. I'm basically the only guy who does multi-layered tracking and harmonizes and really tries to truly emote and tell that story. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. All of these songs are a story in my life or about the people that I've been around and spent time with or endured something with. You know what I mean? Well, whether, you know, it's life hardships, whether it's love, addiction, you know, street life, you know what I mean? I always tried to own what I was doing vocally, you know, like the proverbial practice what you preach
Right.
type of thing. You know what I mean?
You've what's really good. I mean, you can know every night when you lay your head down is, as most good songwriters are, how you've touched people, whether it's through sad times, happy songs, like you know, you help people get through hard times or sad times by listening to your music, or just enjoy themselves. Like, to be a part of all people's different emotions to their lives is such a great gift to have and to give and to receive. You know what I mean? What a
It
special thing.
never gets old. It never gets old, you know, to have a kid come up to me and say, you know, how this or that helped them through addiction or just a very hard experience in their life. You know what I mean? Like I remember how music did that for me growing up and helped me get through the challenges of addiction and depression and you know, the other things we endure with, you know, family and love and our own actions, whether, you know, we made bad mistakes or we got to celebrate something phenomenal. You know, like I said, you know, it all goes back to community, not
Mm-hmm.
unity. You know, there's a lot of bands that use that phrase and coin it, but they're not really about unity. You know, they're cliquey or something like that. But you know, to me, this whole thing has always been about community, and that's what I learned from it, and that's what I try to give in return.
How are you doing for being like creative with your time now? Are you writing more songs? Are you what are you like tracking some stuff?
Uh, you know, I've been trying to get done with a very overdue project, and Isaac Danny Diablo, he not only wants me to record some hooks for him for some hip hop stuff, but he's supposed to be linking me up with a record label. I'm also trying to reissue the Truth and Rights CD, you know, because not many people know about a project that I did, you know,
Hmm.
almost a decade ago. I did a 7-inch and 10-song CD with a band that we called Truth and Rights, and I'm very proud of that. That whole CD is a banger. The first 6 songs come at you, you know, it's like going 3 rounds with Tyson. You know, after
Hmm.
6 songs, you're like, yo, what the fuck did I just feel? You know what I mean? Like, what just hit me? And it's a shame we didn't get to do much with it. The CD, I would press them a
Yeah.
few and sell them, but we never really had a proper representation and release, and we try to do that with Upstate Records now. You know, I'm still paying storage for the last 7 years because I've got 500 copies of the Greenlight 7-inch. You know what I mean? Because I just don't want to give up and lose them. You know what I mean? I've gone this far with them. I want to see them get to people. You know what I mean? So that's you know, the plans are to keep doing music while I can, and you know, you know, I really, aside from my treatment and going to chemo every 3 weeks, you know, I might be slower and stuff like that, but I'm still trying to move forward. You know what I mean? I of course have to remember that I'm going through this, but at the same time, I try to just go with it. You know, I don't. allow it to emotionally tax me. After my breakup 18 months ago, yes, shit got hard and things got very deep and very scary. But I've been able to get past that so much that I'm very much at peace with what's coming. And I just want to make the best of the time and opportunities that I can take advantage of, as simple as that. Just keep moving forward and keep doing, what I enjoy doing and try to, build on this legacy before it's all over. You know what I mean?
It,
Because everything comes to an end. That's
it
life.
does. It does, and I think I was always surprised, how you handled the breakup because that would have crushed me, especially you were going through your own health issues on top of the breakup, on top of a huge life change. There's so much going on. The fact you have pulled through enough to where you're at now, and you're still doing stuff, and you're keeping you moving forward. It's very inspiring. To to not just stop and go, "Ah, that's it."
If
You
I
know,
could do that for people, that's what I want to do too. Like the way a song helps somebody get through this or that. You know what I mean? I want people to see me and be like, damn, this motherfucker is still going for it. He's not allowing this to stop him. All right, I don't have a lot of dates booked right now at all. I had a the East Coast tour we wanted to do for May because I just couldn't line up the dates. I can't really look further than doing maybe 5 shows in a week. That would still be a challenge. But during the warm season, I could probably endure that. But what I'm trying to do is like, short weekend runs,
mm-hmm.
And do 2 or 3 shows in a weekend. I think that I can handle right now and then see where I can go from there. Because it's not easy during the winter, getting on stage, getting that layer of sweat on me, and then being exposed to the cold. It's almost like hypothermia for me. It's really not a pleasant experience, and the cold weather goes right fucking through me. So, the warm weather is the best time for me to make opportunity, but I'm a little behind in scheduling things just because of the guys being busy or having certain things just getting in the way, at the moment. The one good show I'm looking forward to is May 27th in Manhattan. I'll be playing Tompkins Square Park with Rebelmatic and a couple of other bands. The names escape me at the moment. But that's the big show. You know what I mean? And it's a
Yeah,
bucket list gig because, the band, the sound stage is built literally 100 feet from Niagara, which was originally A7s, which were like the first shows I went to as a kid, 15 and 16, Breaking Night on the Lower East Side when that place was like a fucking jungle. You know what I mean? It was a seriously scary place. It would be like being in the middle of the South Bronx, you know. But having that and getting that opportunity is just, one more notch in my belt that life and circumstance isn't taking from me. You know what I mean? And that's the beautiful thing about, moving forward and enduring best I can.
well, it is. I find it very inspiring. I mean, and I think you've been saying that many shows. I mean, at your age now, and I'm in my 50s too, but like a lot of artists are only doing weekend shows. 5 shows is a lot for anybody, whether you're healthy or not, in a week nowadays.
True.
That's not even. I'm not even talking about having cancer, but like the fact if you did like two, at least that's a lot. I'd be like, yeah, that's a lot. So I mean, the fact that you're like 5 would be a lot for me in the winter. I'm like that 5 would be a lot for anybody at any time, at any health. Most
Yeah.
gigs are weekend gigs for people now.
Yeah, for a lot of guys, but also, most of the bands that, are in the top tier in hardcore, or anybody trying to promote a release, this is the season to try to get as much as you can done, and I already know that, not much is going to happen until July or August, but that still gives me a couple of months to try to get some things going, and then, see where to go from there.
What about, so like, I mean, and that's, as we're talking about, I mean, being upfront and honest about it, the feeling of urgency, like when, I just recently, when David Bowie passed, he knew he was battling, he knew what his time limit was, but he had music and he had media, he had creativity, he still wanted to keep working, as an artist. And that sounds like that's something you have burning in you to keep doing, because that's who you are. It's just, you have a choice. You have creativity just flowing through you at all levels. Do you have
Yeah,
a lot of
well,
ideas you're trying to get out?
yeah, it's not really so much about doing songs for the sake of Leeway. There's a
Right.
lot of music that truly inspired me from the 70s that I would love to record and sing, like with today's hard rock guitar sound,
Mm-hmm.
and going back and attacking, like, for example, Thin Lizzy's Cowboy song. That would be a
Yeah,
great swan song for me to go out with, in my opinion,
it would be. Yeah, it would be.
and then, you take the band Free that eventually became Bad Company.
Yep.
You know, there's two songs that I would love to do. I'll Be Creeping
Mm-hmm.
or Trouble on Double Time. You know, I know I could slay those songs. And like I said, you wouldn't really do them in the old classical rock sound. You would, you know, strengthen them up and make them
Oh yeah.
meatier and ballsier. And then having my opportunity to lay tracks down on that and do my own rendition, it's part of the bucket list. You know what I
I
mean?
think you should. I think you should do it. And that's what I mean. There are like just ideas like, oh, I might write a short thing, or I might write down some ideas of some of my experiences that I've learned from being on the scene or from life, like a collective idea of everything, or a list of my lyrics mixed with stories for my lyrics, or photographs, or what I'm saying, like things you want to start put together cohesively for people, you know, to put out that you want to put out before things get more challenging for you.
Exactly. At this point, it's really, I became Eddie Leeway. So, whether I'm doing songs in the vein of the band's sound, or I'm picking and choosing songs that mean a great deal for me, I still feel like I could do the job and people can relate to it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. When they hear me talking about, the band that became Bad Company, they're probably thinking of their parents' music or something like that. But they don't realize that, a lot of these songs have musicianship and beauty to them at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they've endured decades. You know what I mean? A lot of bands don't get the proper budget or get to be in the right studio and get the right sound and get the right mix, so they don't get to have uh recordings that endure the test of time. Like, that's the beauty that Leeway had. We were given enough of a record budget to be in a top-notch studio and to have an engineer like Tom Soares. Nowadays it could be replicated easily, but still, whether I'm writing new music or I'm, putting respect to music that I grew up with, you know, uh, it's still me, and I still believe that people can appreciate it, and that's what I want to do. It's almost like a combination of a music lesson as well as something that people can enjoy.
Yes. You know, what you're saying made me think about this. I mean, for people, anybody listening thinks it sounds weird talking about like the context of where we're at, and that we're talking about, are you trying to get stuff done? Is there a race and this and that? It may feel really weird or remorseful, but you know, I'm heartbroken about your health issues, and I have been for a year, 2 years, how long? Well, since we started talking. But one of the inspiring things is you're still alive and you're still doing things. And we're here right now, and that's what we're talking about. That's why we're talking about these things, because you are doing things. And it's important people realize that, and you and maybe take a lesson from this, that you just keep going. If you get kicked in the teeth, you get stand back up again. You keep fighting. I can't look at anything and complain and see what you're going through. I'm like, oh, I'm lucky. You give me gratitude.
Well, I appreciate it too. Like I don't want the sympathy as much as I want the support.
Right.
And I want people to root for me. There's no question about that. But I'm not on pain meds as of now, and I think that helps, because, if I was on morphine or Dilaudid like I was originally when I was really in pain until I started feeling a little bit better, and dealing with breakup and being emotionally abandoned at such a life-threatening point in my life, it probably would leave me, wallowing in my room, not getting out of fucking bed and giving up. But I don't feel that way. And I know that people are rooting for me, so I have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's because I don't want people to, have that sympathy because I'm going down. But like, I want them to just feel inspired, because we're all going to get challenges as we get older.
Right.
You know what I
It's
mean?
what you do. It's what you do with the time. It's what you're showing exactly what it is. And that's why it's important. I think, and I see this, and I follow you on all the media. We chat once in a while and text and stuff, and it's very inspiring. And I think, to me, and having these conversations it's definitely weird talking about, like, because there's like you're battling a timeline, but at the same time, it's like knowing where you're at, what you're thinking, and not being like, when we grew up, you couldn't talk about this kind of stuff, like, oh, they got an illness, and you wouldn't talk about what's going on in their time or whatever. But it's almost, to me, almost now as an adult, I'm like, I feel like it's more important to talk about, to pretend like, what is on your plate, what are you talking about, what's more important, because this is it. How you feel about somebody, how you're living it. You want to live it full.
I'm trying to get clearance from the hospital, from their lawyers, to have somebody document and film my chemotherapy treatment. Now, last year when I got sepsis, it was in the port that they put in your chest, because it's easier just to draw blood and to plug in the IV and everything. Mine got infected, so it got taken down. So the scar now looks like I took a bullet to the chest.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, it's got the little scoop hole and everything. I could bullshit the ladies. They'll be so impressed, But, I just do simple IV in my hand. It's like about a 5.5-hour process. They jack me up with a little bit of Benadryl, so I sleep through it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not worried about being bald. The only thing I wish I had was maybe some eyebrows. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't look like, a drag queen in the morning. But other than that, it's all good.
You draw them on. You have fun. There's so many ways to be creative now. You're an artist. Be creative.
My face is so much rounder now than it was, and I think that has to do with the steroids. My face is a bit more puffy, almost like a moon pie. You know what I mean? And it's all good. It's all good. I mean, shit can be worse. You know what I mean? Like, the one thing that I do fear is ending up in a hospital bed for the rest of my days, emaciated and shriveled up, and having people visit me and see me in that state, that scares the fuck out of me. You know what I mean? But I don't feel like I'm on my way to that yet. So,
Right.
I keep that out of my mind, and I just keep moving forward. I'll get to that when I get to that. You know what I mean? In the meantime, there's things to do. I've started creating art because I'm a big baseball card geek.
Yeah, I wanted to talk
You
about
know what
that.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to recover the rest of my collection that's still down south, but it's basically a cut and paste type thing. There's a lot of people that do this custom card art, and you can find it all over Instagram. I had a couple of guys that allowed me their time, and I asked them questions, and they encouraged me, and I started doing it. I started last year, but I really didn't start completing more projects until this year. I really got to jump on it during the baseball season. But it's not just creating baseball cards. I just got my hands on a couple of reissue 1966 Batman cards, and I'm going to create with those, and do other sports, and then do other stuff like I have a Martin Luther King card that I want to create with. I could do serial killers, anything that's in a card format, or maybe postcard format. I'm going to try to create some art, and it's a few things that I could have collectors buy them or trade them, just like you would do on eBay. And I sell my cards on eBay too. I buy just as much as I sell. I can't help it. But it's what I always did when I had like a little stability in my life. I always went back to the hobby, you know. And it's good
With
to have a
cards.
hobby, especially when you got so much going on, and you're stuck at home all day. You have to have something to keep you busy that you can still, enjoy pleasure at, or instead of just doing dishes or laundry, or regular day-to-day things.
What about TV? You got any good Netflix? You watching anything good? Any good
I'm
binging? I'm
on
always looking for good
YouTube a
binging.
lot.
Hmm?
Sorry?
I'm always looking for some good binging stuff, so I'm always open to hear anything good.
I got very caught up again with true crime.
Yeah.
This Idaho 4 case really floored me. And for a while there, I thought maybe Brian Koberger was somebody that I met at a show in Pennsylvania, but nobody that I know knows of him, or went to his show. But my oldest niece started college a year ago, so this hit home to me. I've
Yeah.
always been interested in organized crime, and recently I started talking about my father and his uh, world being in the life. But I've been watching this Idaho 4 case, as well as Lori Daybell, a woman that killed her 2 kids with this doomsday cult dude she married, Chad Daybell. Her real last name was Vallow until she married this schmuck. So while I'm sitting there doing my art, or I'm doing mail that has to go out, I'll be binging on YouTube, and I'll check some podcasts out. But obviously, the Idaho 4 case has kept me wrapped up for a lot of the last few months since it happened.
I hear that. I hear
I
that.
don't get to see TV much.
No, I get through periods where I binge a lot, and then I don't, and then I do, and then I listen to a lot of podcasts, and then I don't. There's just so much out there. I think sometimes I fall behind in everything. I'm not up on everybody's podcast. I'm not. I can barely. Sometimes with my own, I can barely keep up with my own game to be prepared. So
Yeah, there's not enough time in a day to watch everything that you want to watch.
no, not for me. I actually started just deleting lists
Just
of wants I want to do, and just be like, well, whatever's in front of me at the time, I'll just check it out because that's all there is to it. I have stacks of, or used to be stacks of
exactly.
books. Now I have stacks of online folders of just books. I put in a folder. I'm like, well, I don't have time. I know I want to read this. So I have a big folder just filling it full of, downloaded books. you know,
I absorb information. That's what I do. I'm watching the politics, but I'm not spewing politics.
no, but you're a
I'm not. I'm
songwriter,
not.
so it's
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
affect you.
not going to limit myself by picking or choosing a side. I never felt whoever was president at the time affected my life. So, it is what it is, and I'm not going to limit my audience because of some ideology or
Yeah,
having some party to choose and vote for. I don't vote,
you don't vote at
you
all.
know. I haven't. I haven't in a very long time. I think the last president I voted for was Clinton, you know.
No, no
And
judgment. I was just surprised. You know,
some people say you should have a voice.
I've
You
got no
know,
opinion.
uh for me it's just not what it is. And I don't want to get into the whole debate over all of this stuff.
No,
I'm not someone who follows conspiracy theories. I'm aware of them, and I
there's some
see
good
how
ones.
people get very worked up over it, but that's just not for me, you know.
Yeah, I think I think it's good if you vote, but I don't put it on anybody else. I don't put it on the fact that people go, you should have an iPhone, you should have a different phone, Android. You should have kids. You shouldn't have kids. You should do this. Like everyone has their opinions. I think people need to do what they need to do, and I have, you know what I mean. That's really what it is, and
I
respect everybody. And that's it.
wholeheartedly agree.
You
If
know.
you want to go out and advocate for somebody running in office, or you want to
Yeah,
protest this or protest that, good on you. You know what I mean? Go do your thing.
but I
But
support people not doing it too.
yeah,
You know.
I'm more the one that offers, I guess, sympathy or understanding to individuals,
Yeah.
and helping in a more constructive or communicating way, instead of spewing an ideology and staking claims that make a lot of people look batshit. You know what I mean? And it's just not for me.
Do you? And I'm thinking here, just back a step. Is there a chance you would do any kind of recording like live and then put it out there maybe? Because like if you can't tour a lot, like I live a couple hours from you, but I can't see you right now. Obviously, 'cause you don't do anything right now. But the people are never going to be able to see a lot of bands because most people aren't going to leave the U.S. anymore. And so there's like live
Yeah,
things. Would you do anything live that you put out there on YouTube?
it's an idea that I'm hoping to pitch and try to make happen as well. You know, AJ likes to make things happen without telling anybody. So you find out after he's already did it. So he did a deal with Generation Records, and Generation Records just released a live album of Leeway from March of 1987. At the time, Mike Gibbons wasn't in the band. We had Gordon Ansis. He's a kid that played with AF and then jumped on with us. Zowie from Born to Expire, he was playing bass. But on drums, we had Mackie Jason. So, it's me, AJ, Mackie, Zowie, and Gordon. And it is a good representation of the band because this is the nucleus that made me and AJ understand, like, we need this type of drummer, we need a groove bass player like this, and a solid lead guitar player to complete us and make this sound that we're trying to make. And it's a good representation. It's very raw because it's not yet born to expire, but it's very close. I would like to do that before it's over. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely want to do a live album while I'm still very capable. Will it be a session in the studio and not necessarily a live
Yeah.
show? That's the question and the option to play right now. Trying
I
to
mean,
figure that out.
you can get away with that. I mean, you can do a good camera. I've done some just handheld stuff. It was a good soundboard mix even. I mean, there's stuff out there of you now that sounds pretty good. It was just done back in the what late '80s or even
Yeah, the
sometime
band's tight.
2016. I was hearing stuff that people just did it with their phones and it sounds good. I mean, there's enough footage out there where if it's just clear and concise, you know, you could patch something together. I mean, I think the original version of that started with remember when Metallica did Cliff 'Em All? It was fan bootleg. I don't know how people got VHS cameras into the concerts back then. The big old cameras. I don't know how they were sneaking those in. Point is, the quality of
Yeah.
it was not the best. But people, if that's what there's out there, people want it, and that's lower end. Now, the footage I was seeing of you now was already higher quality. So I mean,
Yeah, well,
you guys could do something on your own, guerrilla style. Just put something together officially on your own channel because there's already stuff out there that people are doing.
yeah, well, a lot of the idea was to let's do a pseudo live album, like 70s. You would do it in the studio, but you would
Kiss,
call it live,
right?
and canon and the audience
Yep.
response and all that, the applause. So that's something I'd bandied and bounced around a bit that I've wanted to do. But yes, it's great to see when I get to play an event like This Is Hardcore, and to see how Hate 56 has like 3 cameras going, and he's
Yeah.
chopping it up and editing it to show the excitement of his show. I'm glad that that's out there for people to be able to see the show because they can't necessarily come out, because I'm
Yeah.
not playing by them, or, they have commitments, they can't make the show, what have you. So I mean, I'm very happy with that. But again, I do, without question, want to do something to capture the spirit of the Leeway tribute the way I'm doing it right now.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, yeah, it'd be nice if you
and,
had
and
your
it pisses
hands
me
in it.
off. It pisses me off that AJ does this and I have to find out secondhand. But thankfully, Mark Yoshi, the guy that did it with Generation Records and AJ, he reached out to me and he got me some copies that I was able to pass around, and got some compensation for the release. Otherwise, I would have gotten nothing. You know what I mean? That's just fucked up. I don't want to draw my dirty laundry out in the air as much as other bands may do. But, this is AJ's thing. He's not in touch with the audience. He never respected the audiences. Like I can't tell you how many times I'd be in Europe and him and the other guys would be making fun of the kids coming to our shows. Like, he doesn't have respect for it, but he wants to try to control it, because I'm still out here doing it, and I'm happier doing it with my friends than trying to keep this band together because it's just too much drama and bullshit. You know what I mean? Apparently, I'm out of my mind. You know what I mean? And I'm difficult to work with. So, take that for whatever it's fucking worth, you know? And
I
I'm having
just,
fun. And that's all there is to it. When I sell a shirt, I'm talking to the person. I'm interacting with them. They get a selfie. I communicate with them.
yeah,
I don't have somebody doing it for me. I try to make that conscious physical effort in everything I do to this audience because they mean the world to me. They're not people that I think I'm above or I can make fun of. That's just fucked up.
Well, I don't think anybody's above anybody, and that's the thing. I mean, I think you have the right attitude,
Exactly.
and I think a lot of musicians do, and it's disappointing to hear that he does, like, because the truth is, I mean, and I think that's what gets really weird and allows people to think like that is people once the music world, like, how can you? I hear it all the time. I'm like, how could you talk to? I mean, I'm talking to you. How did you talk to Eddie? How did you have a relationship with him? I'm like, easy. I just use words out of my mouth. He uses words out of his mouth. We're talking now. As an artist,
Yeah, I mean, if we
I
have
your craft,
issues, we could,
right?
we should.
But we have an issue. But I'm saying, like to me, you have a craft that you do. You could be. We could be the ye olden days, and you could be the guy that does my horse and does the things or makes my leather saddles. You have a craft that I respect and I enjoy. It's a big part of my life. There's a lot of things, but you're also that's just your craft you do well. It doesn't take away, it doesn't make anybody a different person. And sometimes people's crafts pay better than other people's, and it puts you in a different financial status. But once again, I think that's where people get crazy. They think because it's one thing, it makes them more important than other people, you know. Whereas that's not who you are. That's not who a lot of musicians are anymore. You can't be that way anymore. You know, the world's not like that.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
to
some
me,
people
it's
are
a
still like that,
control issue.
right? And that's got nothing to do
I
with
don't
anything. Just who
understand
they
it.
are. I can't believe you don't get paid for it though. Legally, you should have some kind of rights to your own stuff.
Well, this is the issue at hand. I did sign on. It's me, AJ, and Mike Gibbons trying to get the rights back to the first two albums because I believe Sony bought the rights to the first two records when Profile went out of business. So I did sign on despite my disapproval with what AJ tries to control and everything. I did it for Mikey because Mikey, this is something very personal to him that he wants to see us regain the rights to this music and reissue it with somebody else. So I did it for Mikey. That's really the only reason, you know. And I think the fact that me and AJ can't communicate is just a poor excuse for him to just push off instead of us trying to reach a common ground and hash out differences and doing all that stuff. It's really just a poor excuse because he wants to control it. I don't think he likes the fact that uh, overall this time I'm more the face of this band than anybody else. But that's because I put the work in. You know what I mean? Like I'm the one that communicates. I don't hide in
Yeah,
the back. You know what I mean? Like, this shit takes work if you want to get something from it. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's why I'm going to be memorized and memorialized more than some of the others. That's that.
that's a good point. And I think I know I want to wrap up today, but I want to say I want to have you back on again, and I want to do it sooner and catch up more on what you're doing and some of your dates and stuff. I know it was trickier for a little bit. You had a lot going on, but hopefully, we won't be so far between our next talk. You know,
Yeah, I would like that too. Maybe come autumn, you know,
yeah,
I'll have some more things going on. I know we originally planned to come on maybe a little sooner when I was trying to put the East Coast tour together.
right.
But, shit happens. There's always a first time that I have to pack something in and try again later. You know what I
Well,
mean? But it's not the end of the world just yet.
we should make a tentative date because I mean, let's face it, we have a good time talking about anything. You really didn't have an agenda today except talk about your health a little bit. We've talked for over an hour. You know what I'm saying? We never have a problem talking, so we don't have to worry about cobbling an idea together. you know, um,
Exactly. We just take it where it goes. You know
where it
what I
goes.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, I want people to say though, the big takeaway for this is there was on the cabinet because people go crazy over an hour long podcast. People have to get a destination. They hate turning it off at a certain time point. But I could talk for hours. The point is, there's gonna be a link below, a couple links. Anything Eddie's got going on. So he's got he is doing his fundraiser, so please check that out and support him there. He's doing his cards. There's also merch coming out at different times, and there's links going there. So that's usually announced, I know, on his Instagram page.
Yeah, the Instagram page is where I'm doing most of my communicating.
Okay.
It's Eddie Leeway official, because I got hacked last year and I lost all my followers. Right now we're doing like a pre-order for Zip Up Born to Expire hoodies. The graphics were redone by my friend Martin, based out of Texas. He goes by brand name Ninth Circle. But if you reach out to me there, we have the pre-order going on right now for the Zip Up hoodie. I have autographed photo prints from a photographer named Robert Jacob that
pretty sweet
shot
looking.
me in Tallahassee. He shot me in Florida several years ago when I actually did a cancer benefit for friend of Rhythm of Fear. And it was
So
my first time working with those guys before.
Was that before you knew you had cancer?
Oh yeah.
And there's a picture of you smoking too? Was that the picture too?
Ironically, I did cancer benefits before I got sick.
Right.
You know, my mom had pancreatic cancer and she survived. You know what I mean? You know, she's still in good shape and feisty today, you know. And I always supported and did a handful of benefits for cancer before I wound up diagnosed with the same thing. You know what I mean? So there you go. Things happen for a reason.
Or they just happen. The world, it's just so many things that happen. I can't even figure out the reasons anymore.
Yeah, you know, just irony is always a motherfucker to me.
You know, something is always happening to somebody.
It just happens that way.
You know, I want to thank you for being on the show. People support him and all his go to his socials, go on his follow him on his socials, support him on his merch, support him on his GoFundMe, check him out. It's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Sean. You're the man. Have a good one, everybody. Reach out. I'm here.